Change does not always have to be a negative experience. There's this misconception that when you are evolving and that you're elevating and that you're just growing as a person, you have to be afraid because it's unknown. Not realizing that when you're doing something that's unknown, it's unfamiliar. And just because something is unfamiliar doesn't automatically make it a bad thing or something that you should be paranoid or afraid of. So with that being said, welcome or welcome back. It's your favorite mental health specialist, Ty Guidance, and that is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Now, with that being said, because there's no right or wrong way to heal yourself, always and only take what resonates as well as leave the rest. So if it doesn't apply, then that means it's not aligned, which means it is not for you, so don't force it. As well as grab your pens, grab your paper, and be prepared to take notes. For the month of May, we have been going over and discussing how nothing in life is going to last forever. So because nothing in life is going to last forever, you're going to change, you're going to grow. And in this video, we're going to talk about that as well as some recommendations, some reminders, and some disclaimers, and just certain things that you need to be aware of. So starting off with the first disclaimer, change is inevitable. And you guys, if you see me looking away, it's literally because I have my notes right in front of me. That's the first disclaimer. Change is inevitable. Until you realize that sometimes in life you're going to have control over situations and sometimes you're not, you're going to struggle with learning to go through trials and tribulations or obstacles or just allowing yourself to let go of what no longer serves you. You have to realize that life is going to life, and as long as you're living, you're going to live. You have to realize there are only 24 hours in a day, which means you can only do so much. You are one person. You have to realize that who you once were is not always going to be who you're meant to be or who you're going to become, especially when you accept change and you're ready for change, which leads us into the second disclaimer. Until you accept that if you want to live a certain life or if you want to do certain things, that it requires you to think differently and remove yourself from certain people, places, and things, you're the only person who's going to find it difficult and challenging. Change a lot of times is not as dramatic as we make it out to be. This doesn't mean that you may not feel like it's an inconvenience, because I'm not here to invalidate your emotions, but I'm telling you, speaking from experience, once I realized that change was only difficult because there were certain moments in my life where maybe I didn't move immediately, that's when it became a burden. That's when it became like, oh, I'm having to force myself to do the things that I said I wanted to do. If you say you want to do certain things, you have to be able to take the initiative, because if not, things are going to happen to you in life to where the gods, the ancestors, and the universe will shift those things up, will wake those things up, will allow things to come up and allow them to come back down. Now, I'm not here to force religion or spirituality, so take what resonates, leave the rest, or even your higher self if you're an atheist. You're going to go through certain things in your life where things are going to shift. You're going to go through things, whether it's loss, whether it's betrayal, whether it's promotion, whether it's negative, whether it's positive, whether you lose family members, whether you move, whether you graduate, you're going to experience life. All of us do. So as we're experiencing life, the more we become aware of who it is that we want to be and what it is that we want to do, the more when things do happen to us, instead of complaining or being upset or feeling like it's an inconvenience, we learn to realize why we have to go through these necessary changes. And that's the fourth disclaimer. When you are able to accept what you're losing and what it is that you have to gain, and you focus on those things, it's no longer an issue. It's no longer a let me force myself to do this or let me try to put myself in a good mood. You have to be committed to yourself in order to realize that life is like a roller coaster. Life is like a movie. Life is like a book. You have the beginning, the middle, the end. Same thing with a roller coaster. You get on your roller coaster, you start, you have the experience, which is you doing the flips or going up and down and doing the loop-de-loops, and then you have the end when the roller coaster comes to a complete stop. Same thing. So your fifth disclaimer before we get to the recommendation, when it comes to you knowing that change doesn't have to be scary or that the unknown doesn't have to be something that you're afraid of, is realizing that you were once a version of yourself and that Just because you're having to let go of who you used to be or how you used to think, or even certain people, places, and things, doesn't mean that, you invalidate what you felt or what you experienced, but knowing that it's okay. It helped you get you to where you are right now or what it is that you need to be. So that's the first recommendation. Learning to accept your past mindsets, ideologies, beliefs, and even behaviors, the good and the bad, for what it was, because it got you this far. If you knew better, you would do better. If you made certain choices in your past that you weren't proud of, it was for a reason. Learn the lesson. That's the best way and the simplest way for you to understand. We have to learn lessons in life. If you're watching this account, you're intelligent, okay? You're not here to be on a lower vibration. You're not here to be unintelligent. You're not here to be willfully ignorant. You have to realize you are smart. You are intelligent. Once again, if you didn't have the resources, if you didn't have the discernment, if you didn't have the wisdom, if you didn't have the family, if you didn't have the friends, if you didn't have the money, if you didn't have the guidance, you wouldn't have known any better. So maybe in your past, maybe you were naive. Maybe you were innocent. Maybe you were ignorant. That's okay. You have to make peace with that part of you, because that version of you only knew what they were taught and shown. And everybody in the world, unless you are specific, and I'm not going to go too deep into that, is informed and programmed information from childhood. People are taught and shown certain things based off of how they were raised from their caregivers, their parents, their family members. Then when you are no longer around your family, you go to school. So environments, communities, neighborhoods, your teachers, your principals, the administrators, the staffs. Then if you're fortunate, you play sports, or you have other things that you're invested into, hobbies, those people. Then you grow older, you go to work, now you have coworkers and managers and bosses. We learn from other people, whether it's good or bad, whether it's false or it's true. So you have to realize you learned certain things in your life, you did certain things, and you either knew better or you didn't. The best thing you can do is realize what you had to learn, what you did not know, and move accordingly. Because if not, you'll just continue to have the same cycles, and you'll feel like change is challenging and difficult when it's necessary. And number two, the longer you wait to make the necessary changes, the longer you're going to struggle. And I'm speaking from experience. Learning to let go is only difficult and challenging when you're not used to being independent, and when you're not confident, and when you're not secure in yourself. And I'm speaking from experience. Like, learning to let go of certain ideologies and people and places and things, it's going to make you feel some type of way. And I can say from experience, when I lost my parent, at the time, like immediately, I did not have the confidence to live my life and be the person who I wanted to be, because I was so heartbroken. And that's okay. I've had to learn how to continue to show up and live my life despite my parent being gone, because the world didn't stop just because my parent died. I had to still show up and grow and accept change, because a lot of people fail to realize once something is done in your life, that's it. Especially when it comes to people. This is why we learn. I've learned a lot of things about myself and the death of my parent, and just in general. Learn to appreciate things for what they are, because it's not always going to be like that. And a lot of times you don't realize that because you haven't made the necessary changes. But I'm telling you guys from experience, especially for those of you who are religious to spirituality, if something needs to change, if something needs to flip the script, it's going to happen regardless. I didn't expect my parent to pass away when they did. Like, yes, I did know that they were eventually not going to be in my life forever. And yes, I did know that my parent was dying, but I didn't know when. I didn't have control over that. Like I said, there's some things in life you're not always going to have control over. But it's like, what do you do? How do you feel? Am I going to allow it to beat me up for the rest of my life? Or eventually, am I going to be able to process what has happened to me, take my time, see a therapist, work on myself, and evolve? Which is the third recommendation. You have to allow yourself to know that just because you once were somebody, or you went through certain things, or you've lost certain things, that it is necessary. That's why it's so important that I tell you guys to be taking notes, to ask questions, to see a therapist, to see a psychiatrist, to like these videos, book a service in a session, not because I just want to get your money, but because it's like, if you don't talk about your trials and tribulations, if you don't have like a community, or if you don't have support, you're going to feel like something is wrong with you. And you'll end up living like that for the rest of your life. And then you'll allow certain people to manipulate you and control you. And then you do have some people in this world who charge for certain, prescriptions and things, and they don't care. Like, some people do just want to make money off of people being miserable, being ignorant, not being confident. A lot of people do that all the time. I'm not going to say who, but a lot of y'all faves do it all the time. And a lot of y'all blindly allow it. I'm not here to manipulate people or control people. I don't need to do that. That's not going to get me anywhere in life. So you have to realize that grieving is going to help you accept change. Learning, self-reflecting, in the 4th or 5th recommendation, allowing yourself to be separate. Allowing certain seasons and certain chapters for you to be alone, if you're not seeking a therapist or psychiatrist or God or ancestors universe, because it's like, the longer you are surrounding yourself with people and places and things that you are meant to outgrown, the longer you're gonna feel some type of way. You do have to take time for yourself. You do have to have moments where you're alone. Like, being alone is not a negative thing, which is a different video within itself. Anybody who says, oh, our healing journey is lonely, or oh, being alone is treacherous, that's a red flag. I don't care. I'm gonna say it all to y'all shade. Like, I'm trying to keep it as professional as possible, but it's like, I don't trust people who say that, because it's just like, what do you mean you can't sit with yourself? What do you mean you can't be alone? If you can't be alone in your own company, there is something wrong with you. That doesn't mean that just because you're alone that you're going to be alone for the rest of your life. But it's like, if you can't think for yourself, if you can't process certain things, if you don't know how to make decisions for yourself, you will be influenced and manipulated and will struggle with moving forward. You will allow what people and places and things have done to you, hold them to your mind and your memory, and now you have PTSD. That's why a lot of Western doctors, they prescribe people with these medications, which a lot of times, if you're not taking them consistently, are temporary, and they make so much money and you still feel the same way, because numbing yourself with trauma doesn't change the fact that you went through certain things. You have to actually talk about it. That's why over here, all to y'all shade, we are doing naturopathic, which means we heal ourselves subconsciously, or quote unquote spiritually, as people like to say, psychologically, mentally, and emotionally. Like, you taking medication for trauma doesn't change the fact that you felt the way you did. So if you're not also seeing somebody to talk about it, what's the point? Like, I'm not saying that medicine is not good, but I'm just saying, if you're gonna take medicine, you need to be able to see results. You need to be able to come up with solutions, because if not, you taking medicine is just gonna numb you, as well as people diagnosing you. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Now you have PTSD. People think that they have to have PTSD for their entire life. No, you don't. Now, of course, healing yourself from being around traumatic situations, like I said, it is a process. I'm not saying that it doesn't require work, energy, and effort, but that's what I'm here for. That's why I am here. So make sure you turn on your post notifications and you're subscribed. Like, okay? But yeah, change is inevitable. And until you get with the program is going to run you down. And over here, if you choose to support me because you're supporting yourself, we are some strong, bold, confident people. And that only bothers people who are not. When you see certain people, it's because you're either where you are in your life and you're happy and you're blessed, or you're content, or you're not. The reason why people are envious of other people is because they're not doing what they want to do. The reason why people don't feel confident when they see confident people is because they don't believe in themselves. The reason why you see certain people and you get excited, that's because you are excited for yourself. And that's what happens. Life is going to continue to go on. The world is way more bigger than what people think it is. And if you're not able to realize that it's sometimes okay not knowing everything, you're going to feel like, oh my God, I need to worry. Now you're stressing yourself out. Now you're causing yourself a stroke. Like I said, mentally and physically, for those of you who are scientists or into spirituality or religion, it's all the same thing. Like 1 + 1 is 2. Okay? If mentally you're overwhelmed, They'll diagnose you with anxiety. Now, if you have anxiety, now your heart pressure is increased, which can cause diabetes, which can cause strokes. You see how, like, it's okay. I'm just gonna keep it cute and keep it demure. If you don't want to have anxiety, if you don't want to be hyperventilating, if you don't want to have a regulated nervous system, if you don't want to be worried and be paranoid, you need to book a service in a session. But most importantly, you need to be taking notes. Okay. But things are going to happen in life. And the only way to honestly be at peace with it is just paying attention. Because a lot of times, a lot of things are preventable. That's what people don't want you to know. Like, once you can prevent what you have control over, life will become lighter and easier. That doesn't mean that you're going to be able to prevent every single thing. Like, I'm not saying that you're going to turn into Batman or Superman or, you know, the Powerpuff Girls. But what you do have control over, you'll be able to, like, grind yourself with. And the things that you don't, you'll learn, okay, this is what I need to go through in order for me to get to where I need to be. So with that being said, I'm going to end off the video because now I'm just yapping. Let me know what you need to work on. Let me know what resonated with you. Make sure you guys are following me on all my social media platforms. Once again, all the information is down in the description below. And yes, I'm promoting myself because, yeah, I am one band, one sound when it comes to everything. If you're interested in a service in a session, click the link in the description. Drop the word website if you've been having like technical difficulties. And if you guys want me to go live talking about these things on Instagram and on TikTok, drop the word live in the comment sections. But you're not alone. I love you. You're loved. Until next time, thanks for watching. Peace.